Welcome to the Case Before the Court, where we break down pivotal legal decisions that have shaped American history, one case at a time. Today, we're unpacking the 1954 Supreme Court ruling in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, a case that didn't just change public education, it changed the legal landscape of civil rights in the United States. The issue in Brown versus Board of Education was straightforward but legally complex. Does the racial segregation of children in public schools, even when the separate facilities appear equal, violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment? This was more than a question about classrooms. It was a challenge to a legal doctrine that had stood unshaken for nearly 60 years. The case gets its name from Linda Brown, a black student in Topeka, Kansas, who had to travel over a mile through a dangerous train yard to get to the segregated black school, even though the white school was just 7 blocks from her home. But Linda wasn't the only child involved. The case was actually a consolidation of 5 lawsuits brought by black parents and students from Kansas, South Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, and Washington, D.C. These families were supported by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, led by Thurgood Marshall, who would later become the first black Supreme Court justice. At the time, state laws and school board policies in many parts of the country mandated segregated schools for white and black children. And their legal justification? A 58-year-old precedent, Plessy v. Ferguson, which upheld racial segregation as long as the separate facilities were equal. But were they? The 14th Amendment mandated that no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So the question became, even if facilities were technically equal on paper, could separating children by race ever be consistent with equal protection? In a unanimous decision, the Warren Supreme Court said no. Separating people by race is not consistent with equal protection. The court sought to move beyond mere physical comparisons of schools. They wanted to look at the intangible effects of segregation. They examined how separating children by race sends a message of inferiority that can never be erased, no matter how nice the buildings are. To support this, the court relied on social science evidence for the first time ever, most famously, the doll test. In these experiments, black children were asked to choose between white and black dolls. Many chose the white dolls and attributed positive traits to them. The conclusion was that segregation was damaging to the self-esteem and identity of black children, even down to the preschool level. Chief Justice Warren wrote, "To separate black children from others of similar age and qualifications solely because of their race generates a feeling of inferiority that may affect their hearts and minds in a way unlikely ever to be undone." The court essentially said that even if you try to make everything else equal, the act of separation itself is a constitutional harm. And they took it a step further. Separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. That one sentence alone overturned Plessy versus Ferguson, at least as it applied to education. The court held that segregation in public schools violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. While the ruling didn't call for immediate desegregation, it did order public school systems to dismantle segregation with all deliberate speed, which would prove to be a long, often violent struggle in the years that followed. Still, Brown v. Board was a constitutional earthquake. It shattered the legal foundation of segregation and paved the way for the Civil Rights Movement, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and countless other legal battles that continue to this day. It also confirmed something that should have always been true in America. Separate is not equal. Thanks for watching the case before the court. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone learning about constitutional law or civil rights. And if you have a case that you'd like to see next, drop it in the comments. Until next time, stay informed, stay principled, and always stand up for what is right.